In an effort to elevate the comic book version of Iron Man to the atmospheric heights of Robert Downey Jr.'s movie Iron Man, Marvel Comics bet big on their 2015 relaunch of the Invincible Iron Man series. That run is set to end in May, and looking back on everything that writer Brian Michael Bendis and his collaborators brought to the character, I've come to the conclusion that this Iron Man run was great, for everyone but Iron Man. What's up everybody, my name is Joshua Yale, and I've got issues with Iron Man. So I'm going to talk about everything that went wrong for Tony Stark and right for everyone else. And of course to do that, I'm going to talk in full spoilery detail, so be warned. Over the years since the success of the first Iron Man movie, Tony Stark has been written to be more cocky and quippy, and he was put back in his more traditional style of armor, all to make him more like the MCU version, but it didn't quite do the trick. That's why Marvel pulled out the big guns, their most prolific writer in Bendis and superstar artist David Marquez. And at first, it worked. The series got off to a great start with its MCU-inspired Tony Stark and was at the top of the sales charts. But after a couple story arcs, it all went off the rails. The culprit here is the Civil War II event. Now, in the first Civil War comic, Iron Man was essentially the villain, so in order to redeem him and affirm that he's Marvel's top character, this time around, he was the hero who was on the right side of the ideological argument. However, Marvel overcorrected and made him more of a gooey, ineffective saint than the smartass with a heart of gold that everybody loves. He just didn't read like Iron Man anymore. But the even bigger problem was that he went down in the final battle, which was published in 2016, and fell into a coma. Iron Man was essentially dead, and all of the momentum he had going was lost. This is where things get interesting. Even though he was dead, Bendis kept the Iron Man franchise going with two different comics featuring two very different characters taking up the mantle. One was Dr. Doom, who supposedly had a change of heart and wanted to make up for his many past misdeeds. The other was Riri Williams, a black teenage girl genius with a tragic origin story who was inspired to build her own Iron Man armor and be a hero. These books were quite good and explored and grew the idea of Iron Man in intriguing ways. Riri especially felt like a breath of fresh air as her story took the high-flying, technological super fantasy of Iron Man and grounded it in real-world issues in ways you never could with Tony Stark. While the comics were still going strong, they weren't doing any favors for Tony Stark. In fact, even though he was in a coma, he had downloaded his consciousness into an AI program that acted just like him. At one point, the AI even got a robot body with a hologram head and was walking around and fighting bad guys just like the normal Tony Stark would, which betrayed the whole ending of Civil War II and was just downright weird. It didn't come as too much of a surprise when Marvel revealed that Tony Stark will soon return, just in time for the final issue of the Bendis run. But regardless of what happens there, the damage has already been done. Death and resurrections are already overdone in comics, but it's hard to imagine that there will be much impact this time, considering Tony Stark was a character who was never really gone. This announcement of Tony's return as Iron Man feels like all the toys are being put back just how Bendis found them now that his playtime is over. And while other characters rose up and grew the Iron Man franchise in exciting ways, it never felt like Tony Stark himself got his due. Thanks for watching. If you want to hear about more issues I have, then check out my breakdown on what the Fox-Disney deal means for the X-Men and Fantastic Four comic books, or how the Star Wars comics are helping fix some of the biggest problems people have with the movies. And be sure to follow and subscribe wherever you like to watch IGN.